My name is Mara, and I can tell you the exact moment my life split into a before and after. It wasn't during a wedding, or an accident, or a breakup. It was on a quiet Thursday night at 11:42 p.m. when a soft knock echoed against my apartment door. Too light to be an emergency, too late to be normal. I was sitting on my couch eating leftover pasta, half asleep watching a cooking show rerun. My biggest worry that night was whether I'd have enough time to iron my work uniform in the morning. That life ended the moment I heard the knock. At first, I thought maybe a neighbor needed sugar, or a package had been delivered to the wrong address again. But when I opened the door, the world around me seemed to freeze, literally freeze, like someone had pressed pause on reality. There, on my doorstep, wrapped in a faded pink blanket, was a baby. A tiny baby girl. Her face was scrunched, her fists balled near her cheeks, her little legs kicking weakly under the blanket. A soft, confused cry escaped her lips, barely louder than a whisper. I stared at her, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. What is this?" I whispered to no one. Then I saw it. A folded note tucked beside her shoulder. My hands trembled as I picked it up, unfolding it slowly. 3 words. 3 words that knocked the air out of my chest. "She's your problem." I recognized the handwriting instantly. Elegant loops. Strict strokes. My sister, Erin. My stomach twisted so violently, I had to hold the doorframe. "What did you do?" I breathed. Erin hadn't answered her phone for days. Mom kept saying she'd gone off the grid again, and Dad shrugged it off like usual, claiming she was figuring herself out. Erin was always the chaotic one. The runner, the dreamer, the storm nobody wanted to stand under. But abandoning her child? Her 3-month-old baby? I crouched down slowly and lifted the tiny bundle into my arms. She was lighter than I expected, fragile, warm, with that newborn smell that somehow felt like both heartbreak and innocence. "Hey, it's okay," I whispered instinctively, though I had no idea if anything was okay. I brought her inside, locking the door behind me. My mind raced. I dialed Erin. Straight to voicemail. Again. Voicemail. Then I called my parents. Mom picked up immediately, her voice sharp as always. "What now, Mara?" "There's a baby on my doorstep," I choked. "Erin's baby." Silence. Thick. Heavy. Telling. "Mom?" I pressed. She sighed, a long, tired, familiar sigh that meant she already knew. "Oh, good," she said bluntly. "She made it to you." My brain stuttered. "Made it? Mom, what are you talking about?" "Your sister dropped the baby off," she said. "She needed a break. She couldn't handle motherhood. And we're too old to raise another child. So, you deal with it." I felt my knees weaken. "Mom, she abandoned her baby. This isn't a break. This is..." "Oh, please," she cut me off. "Stop being dramatic. You're responsible. You're the stable one. You're her sister. If anyone should raise that baby, it's you." I couldn't breathe. Dad's voice suddenly came on speaker. "Listen, kiddo. This is the reality. Erin can't do it. We won't do it. So the baby is your burden now. Don't overthink it. Your burden now." Those words hit harder than the cold night air still clinging to my clothes. I looked at the tiny baby girl in my arms, her eyes blinking up at me as if searching for something, comfort, a promise, safety, anything. She didn't ask to be here. She didn't choose any of this. But in that moment, one thing became painfully clear. My sister had dumped her child on me. My parents had washed their hands of it. And I was suddenly, terrifyingly, impossibly responsible for a life I wasn't prepared to hold. But I held her anyway, because someone had to. For a few seconds, I just stood there in my tiny living room, the baby in my arms, my parents' cold voices echoing inside my skull. "She's your burden now. We won't do it. You deal with it." My mouth felt dry. My heartbeat felt like chaos. My apartment suddenly felt too small, too dim, too unprepared for the reality that had been thrown inside it. "Mom," I whispered, gripping the phone tightly. "You can't be serious. I don't have baby supplies. I don't even know her name. Mom scoffed. Her name isn't important right now. Just figure it out. You're good at that. Figure it out. That was always my role. Before I could argue, Dad added, you've always been the responsible one. Aaron isn't built for motherhood. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder? A baby had been abandoned on my doorstep like a package. This is insane. I breathed. But they had already checked out. Mom's voice softened into that tone she used when something was no longer her problem. We'll call you tomorrow. Maybe. And the line went dead. I stared at the phone, then at the baby, her tiny chest rising and falling against the pink blanket. She wasn't crying anymore. She just gazed up at me, wide-eyed, innocent, unaware of the storm she'd been born into. I guess it's you and me now, I whispered. My hands were shaking. I walked into the kitchen, opening cabinets that held nothing helpful: pasta, coffee, a jar of peanut butter. Nothing a 3-month-old could eat. What do you even drink? Formula? Milk? How much? How often? I muttered, pacing. My anxiety spiked, but I forced myself to breathe. Okay. First step, keep her safe. Second, get essentials. Third, figure out what the hell Aaron had done. I gently placed the baby on the couch and surrounded her with pillows so she wouldn't roll. Then I grabbed my keys. But when I picked her up again, she tucked her face into my chest. As if she trusted me. As if she already knew I was all she had. That small gesture shattered me. I pressed a kiss to her forehead. All right. We'll do this. The grocery store run at midnight was a blur of frantic Googling, grabbing random baby formula brands, diapers, wipes, bottles, blankets. I must have looked terrified because a kind older woman stopped me. First baby? She asked kindly. I didn't even think. I just nodded. Yeah. First, everything. She smiled at me in a way that made something burn behind my eyes. Well, sweetheart, you're doing great just being here. No. I wasn't, but I didn't correct her. When I got home, I finally fed the baby, after 3 YouTube tutorials and 1 near meltdown. But when she drank the formula, tiny hands gripping the bottle like a lifeline, something inside me softened. She wasn't a burden. She was a human. A tiny, helpless human who deserved more than the chaos she'd been thrown into. That night, after changing her diaper 3 times and failing at swaddling 4 times, I finally held her as she slept on my chest. Her small breaths synced with mine. And in that quiet moment, the exhaustion faded just enough for my mind to wander. Where was Aaron? What had she gotten herself into? Why had she run? At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. 1 message. From Aaron. No words. Just a picture. A blurry highway. Her hand out a car window. A bottle of liquor on the dashboard. My heart sank. She wasn't coming back. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Maybe not ever. I looked down at the baby in my arms. Her face softened in sleep. I won't let anyone hurt you, I whispered. For the first time that night. I meant every word. I barely slept that night. The baby, who I still didn't even know the name of, kept stirring, letting out little whimpers that jolted me awake every few minutes. But every time I held her close, she quieted down, as if my heartbeat was the only thing she trusted. By sunrise, my living room looked like a battlefield of diapers, formula cans, and half-folded blankets. I was exhausted, unshowered, overwhelmed, but strangely, there was a small, steady feeling beneath it all. I wasn't angry at the baby. I was angry at everything around her. At 8:12 a.m., my parents showed up. No warning. No courtesy call. Just repeated knocking followed by Mom's irritated voice. Mara, open up. The baby startled. Her tiny face scrunched, about to cry. I shushed her gently and opened the door. Mom barged in like she owned the place. Dad followed, arms crossed, eyes scanning the baby supplies with disapproval. You look terrible, Mom said immediately. Did you even sleep? Not much, I said flatly. Mom clicked her tongue. Well, get used to it. Babies are hard. As if she had been up all night feeding a child she didn't want. Dad stepped closer, peering at the baby in my arms. She looks healthy enough. That's good. At least Aaron didn't starve her. I clenched my jaw. Do you know where she is? Mom shrugged, heading straight for my fridge. She said she needed to clear her head.
You know how she is.
Emotional, unstable, dramatic. I blinked at her. Mom, she abandoned her baby. Mom's head whipped around. Oh, stop with the melodrama. It's temporary. She left a note that said the baby is my problem. Mom waved her hand dismissively. She probably wrote that in a moment of frustration. She sent me a picture of her drinking and driving at 3 a.m. Both parents paused. Only for a moment. Then Dad said, well, she's not exactly in a mothering stage right now. She'll come around. Unbelievable. I tightened my hold on the baby. What's her name? At least tell me that. Mom blinked, as if she had to think. Isabel? No, Isabel? Or was it Bella? Something like that. My mouth fell open. They didn't even know? You don't know your granddaughter's name? Mom's face twisted into annoyance, not shame. We weren't around her enough to remember. Erin kept her to herself. Too much crying. Too much crying. A baby.
Crying.
The logic of monsters. Dad crossed his arms. Listen, Mara. You're the stable one. You have a job and apartment. Erin knew you could handle this better than she could. So, she abandoned her child with me? She trusted you, Mom said, emphasizing the word as if it were some beautiful compliment. I shook my head.
No.
She dumped her on me, and you both are siding with her. Mom's voice sharpened. We aren't. We're just being realistic. You're the only one who can handle this without losing your mind. I barked out a bitter laugh. Mom, I'm already losing my mind. The baby whimpered again, and I rocked her gently. Mom watched me for a moment, and her expression shifted, calculating. Look, Mara, there's no point fighting this. The sooner you accept it, the easier it will be. Erin is gone. For now. So she gave you a baby. Big deal. Big deal? A human life. A whole child. Just given like a chore. Dad added. We're too old to start over. And Erin isn't cut out for parenting. So yes, this baby is your responsibility. End of discussion. Something inside me snapped so quietly, it almost felt peaceful. I looked at them, really looked at them, and asked softly, are you telling me you won't help? Not even financially. Mom lifted a brow. Help? Mara, we raised kids already. We're not doing that again. This is on you. Dad nodded. You're her new mother now. Mother. The word hit me like ice water. I stared down at the baby. Isabel? Bella? Whoever she was, she curled into my warmth like I was her entire world. And maybe, right now, I was. My voice shook. Get out. Mom scoffed. Excuse me?
Get out.
I repeated, louder. Dad stepped forward. You're being emotional. No, I said. I'm being protective. I closed the door behind them. And for the first time since last night, I cried, quiet tears falling onto the baby's soft blanket. Because even though I was terrified, abandoned, exhausted, I knew one thing with absolute clarity. If the world had decided this tiny girl was a burden, then I would be the one person who saw her as a blessing. The next few days passed in a haze of sleepless nights, half-made bottles, and emergency Google searches like, why does a baby grunt while sleeping? Or, how to change a diaper without getting peed on. I was exhausted. I was overwhelmed. But every time that tiny baby, my niece, wrapped her fingers around mine or fell asleep on my chest, something inside me softened. Something warm. Something fierce. The world had dumped her on me like she was trash. But she felt like a treasure. On the fourth morning, when I finally dared to take her to the pediatric clinic, the nurse asked, "What's the baby's full name?" I froze. Heat crawled up my neck. I'm not sure, I admitted. The nurse blinked, surprised. Who is her mother? My sister. She'll left. My voice cracked. The nurse's expression shifted from confusion to something sadder, gentler. She touched my arm. It's okay. We'll find a way. And we did. Through birth date approximations, old hospital records, and a miracle of a receptionist who remembered Erin's dramatic labor entrance, we found her name. Arya. Her name was Arya. A beautiful name for a little girl who had been treated like nothing more than an inconvenience. "Hi, Arya," I whispered later that night, brushing her soft hair. She cooed like she recognized it. My heart melted completely. But just when I finally felt like things were stabilizing, my parents intervened again. They showed up at my door unannounced, again, this time carrying a bag of old baby items from when I was a child. Mom plopped it onto my couch. "We thought you could use these." Inside was junk, old toys, a moldy baby blanket, a cracked plastic bottle that looked like it belonged in a museum showcase titled Artifacts from a Time When Safety Standards Didn't Exist. I forced a smile. "Thanks, but I bought new supplies." Mom rolled her eyes. "Money doesn't grow on trees, Mara. Stop being wasteful." Dad cleared his throat. "Speaking of money, we talked. And we think you should apply for government assistance." I stared at them. "I have a job." "Yeah, but babies are expensive," Mom said. "And since we're not going to support you, you've got to be realistic." The bluntness of it hit me like a slap. "You won't help at all?" I asked. Mom lifted her chin proudly. "We're done raising kids." Dad added, "Erin is your sister. Her mistakes are your responsibility." I felt the words burn. Not because they were true, but because they weren't. Arya stirred in my arms, whimpering softly. I rocked her gently, and she calmed instantly. She trusted me. Not them. Not the mother who ran. Not the grandparents who refused to lift even a finger.
Me.
And in that moment, a shift happened deep inside me. A realization so sharp it almost felt like clarity slicing through fog. Arya was not the burden. They were. The emotional manipulation. The entitlement. The expectation that I sacrifice everything without question. That wasn't family. That was control. I looked up at Mom and Dad. "Leave." Mom blinked.
What?
"Again?" "Yes," I said firmly. "If you're not here to help or support us, then you shouldn't be here at all." Dad scoffed. "This attitude is called boundaries," I snapped. "Get used to them." Silence. Mom's face twisted. "You're pushing your family away." "No," I said softly. "I'm protecting my daughter." The words slipped out naturally. Mom froze. Dad stiffened. I felt my own heart skip.
Daughter.
Arya wasn't mine technically, but emotionally,
She was.
and saying it out loud felt more right than anything I'd said in years. Mom recovered quickly, her expression sharpening into cold disapproval. "You're delusional," Dad added. "You're overstepping." "No," I said, rocking Arya gently. "I'm stepping up." They exchanged a look, one I'd seen my whole life. Disappointment mixed with judgment. The look that used to shrink me. Not anymore. "Goodbye," I said. They left without another word. When the door clicked shut, I leaned my forehead against it, breathing shakily. Then I looked down at Arya, sleeping peacefully against me. "I've got you," I whispered. "And I won't let anyone treat you like nothing."
Not them.
Not her. Not anyone. That night, for the first time since Arya arrived, I didn't feel alone. I felt like a mother. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks of sleepless nights, learning feeding schedules, warm baths, tiny clothes, and the soft rhythm of Arya's breathing against my chest. 2 weeks of my parents texting me occasionally, not to ask about Arya, but to send me links to parenting articles as if I hadn't been the only one actually parenting. I stopped replying. Arya and I were slowly finding a rhythm. A fragile one. A beautiful one. And then, on a Tuesday afternoon, I opened the door to find my sister standing there. Erin. Her hair was clean. Her makeup done. Her clothes expensive and freshly ironed. She looked like she had stepped out of a salon. Not a crisis. But her eyes? They gave her away.
Cold. Detached.
A bit too calculating. "Hey," she said casually, as if she hadn't abandoned her baby on my doorstep like leftover food. I didn't move. What do you want? She pushed past me like she owned the place. Where is she? I froze. Where is who? My baby, obviously. She rolled her eyes. Where else would she be? Something inside me twisted, anger stirring with disbelief. She didn't even say her name. You mean Arya? I said sharply. Oh, right, yeah. She waved her hand dismissively. Whatever. Just go get her. Why? She lifted a brow. Because I'm taking her home. I almost laughed. You what? I'm taking her back, she said, plopping onto my couch and crossing her legs like she was discussing a purse, not a child. I just needed some time to get myself together. You wouldn't understand. My jaw tightened. Erin, you disappeared. For weeks. You left a note saying she was my problem. You sent me a drunk photo from a moving car. And now you just walk in and… Oh, stop exaggerating, she snapped. You always blow everything out of proportion. My hands shook. You abandoned your child. Erin rolled her eyes. I placed her somewhere safe while I stabilized. You're overreacting. I stared at her. Stabilized? Erin, you dumped a newborn at my door at midnight and vanished into the night. So what? She shrugged. I was overwhelmed. I needed space. And I knew you'd take care of her, because you always do. You fix everything. There it was. The entitlement. The same belief my parents had drilled into both of us. I am the fixer. The responsible one. The safe backup plan. Not anymore. Erin, I said quietly, you don't just get to drop her, disappear, then take her back because you feel like it. She scoffed. She's my kid, not yours. Then why didn't you act like it? Her eyes hardened. I'm her mother.
Not you.
I felt Arya stir in her crib. Erin's head jerked toward the sound, and she stood up quickly. There she is. My baby. She reached toward the crib. I stepped in front of her. Firm. Unmoving.
No.
She blinked like she couldn't comprehend the word. What do you mean, no? She's not a toy you can pick up and drop. She needs stability. Erin crossed her arms. And I deserve my child. You deserve her? My voice cracked. Erin, you didn't even know her name. Her lips tightened. That doesn't matter. I'm her mother, legally. You're just babysitting. The word stabbed me. Just babysitting. Move, she said sharply, trying to push past me. I didn't move. Her voice became cold.
Fine.
If you won't give her to me, I'll get Mom and Dad. They'll back me up. I laughed, short and bitter. Oh, I'm sure they will. They already tried handing Arya to me like I'm some live-in nanny. Erin's expression shifted. Not guilt.
Not shame.
Calculation. I'm getting her back, she said. One way or another. Then she walked out, heels clicking like a countdown. I stood there, staring at the closed door, my heart pounding, fear and fury swelling in equal measure. Arya cried softly behind me. I turned to her crib, lifted her into my arms, and held her close. Don't worry, sweet girl, I whispered shakily. I'm not letting her take you. Not after what she's done. Not ever. But deep down, I felt it. This wasn't over. Erin wasn't done. And the real fight was just beginning.
Erin didn't call the next day.
Or the next. But on the third day, I opened my door to find not her, but 2 police officers. My heart nearly stopped. Are you Mara Willis? Yes. We're here regarding a custody dispute involving a minor child. Custody dispute. The words punched the air out of my chest. Erin had filed something, and she had used the law, something I never thought she'd even understand, against me. The officers explained calmly, the biological mother has requested temporary retrieval of the child. We're required to verify the child's welfare. I felt Arya's small body pressed against my shoulder. Her hands clung to my shirt like she could sense something was wrong. Can I speak with someone? I whispered. Family Services will contact you within 48 hours. My throat tightened. 48 hours felt like a death sentence. When they left, I sank onto the couch, shaking. Erin wasn't just back. She was coming for Arya.
Legally.
I knew I needed help. So I called the only person I never imagined myself calling. My colleague Clara, an attorney. She picked up immediately. Mara, are you okay? No, I whispered. I need a lawyer. Clara came over that night. After hearing everything, she shook her head in disbelief. Your sister abandoned her child. You have evidence. You reported nothing because you were trying to protect the baby. That makes you a caretaker, not a kidnapper. But Erin is the biological mother, I said, hugging Arya closer. Biology isn't the only thing courts look at, Clara said. They look at stability, safety, intent, proof.
She paused.
Do you still have the note she left? I nodded. And the picture she sent? Yes. Clara's eyes sharpened. That's neglect. That's endangerment. And it proves she abandoned the child. A hope flickered in me. Small but real. The next week felt like a storm. Court notices. Social worker visits. Home inspections. Interviews about how I fed Arya, bathed her, soothed her. I was terrified the whole time. Terrified they'd take her away. But every night when I rocked her to sleep, her small fingers wrapping around mine, I reminded myself. I wasn't fighting against Erin. I was fighting for Arya. And then came the hearing. Erin walked in wearing a sleek dress, hair perfectly styled, crocodile tears ready to fall. My sister stole my baby, she told the judge. She kept her from me. She refused to let me see my own child. I felt my jaw clench. But Clara stood. Your Honor, I have evidence that the mother abandoned the child, left her on a doorstep without support, wrote a note stating the child was now someone else's problem, and sent photographs implying intoxicated driving. Gasps rippled through the room. Erin's face drained of color. The judge asked me gently to speak. My voice trembled as I held Arya close. I didn't ask for this. I didn't expect this. But I would do anything for her. She is safe with me. She is loved with me. And I will continue to care for her the way her mother didn't. For the first time, I didn't feel afraid of my voice. After what felt like an eternity, the judge spoke. Given the evidence, I award temporary full custody to Mara Willis. The biological mother will have supervised visitation only, pending further evaluation. My knees almost buckled. Erin gasped. She took my baby. The judge looked at her calmly.
No.
You abandoned your baby. This woman saved her. I took a shaky breath. Arya's little head rested on my shoulder, her tiny hands clinging to my dress. She was safe. She was mine. When we left the courtroom, Clara hugged me. You did it. But I shook my head, tears spilling silently.
No.
We did it. That night, back home, Arya fell asleep instantly on my chest, breathing softly, deeply, like she finally felt secure. I kissed her forehead gently. I'll protect you always. No matter who tries to hurt you. Because she wasn't a burden. Not a chore. Not a responsibility forced on me. She was family. Chosen family. The best thing my sister ever gave me, by accident or not. And as I watched her sleep, I whispered, You're safe now, Arya. You're home.